Welcome to History's Remnants, where we visit antique and resale stores looking for history and oddities. Today we are visiting the Benson Corners Antique Malls in Bristol, Wisconsin. Benson Corners is a 2-for-1 with side-by-side antique malls in the heart of Green Bay Packer country. Jim Henson once called Arsenio Hall a son of a bitch. To be more accurate, Henson made a 1989 appearance on the Arsenio Hall show, and while in the personality of Ralph the dog, he greeted Arsenio with, "You son of a bitch," but then clarified that, for a dog, that is a compliment. The Namco video game Pac-Man was one of the biggest fads of the 80s, spawning merchandise like toys, cereal, and clothing, a television cartoon, and even a hit single, Pac-Man Fever, which hit number 9 on the Billboard Hot 100 charts in 1982. Built as a desert oasis and refined by the mob, Vegas has become a glittering mecca for gamblers and entertainers. In the beginning, there were 50s-era crooners like the Rat Pack. And then along came Elvis in 1956. Although Vegas wasn't quite ready for his hip shaking at first, his shows brought in the kids and helped keep Vegas young, instead of aging and fading away like their original audience. By 1964, Elvis was singing its praises in the movie Viva Las Vegas, and as part of Elvis's late 60s comeback, he signed a contract for 5 years of engagements at the International Hotel. To this day, his legacy lives on in Elvis impersonators and Elvis-led weddings. Radio Shack was originally opened in 1921 by a pair of brothers, Theodore and Milton Deutschman, as a source of equipment for the growing amateur radio market. In 1962, the leather company Tandy Corporation purchased the struggling chain and slimmed down its range of products, focusing on its own high-profit private label items, and did away with its low-profit mail-order business, instead building out its retail presence, aiming to have a Radio Shack within 5 minutes of where most Americans live or work. This strategy worked well for Radio Shack with its own brands such as Realistic, Archer, and Optimus, and the company hit its peak in 1999 when it saw its stock split and was a top franchise company. By the early 2000s, Radio Shack had begun to sign contracts to let some lower-profit brands like Sprint and RCA into their stores, and competition from big-box stores with lower prices and bigger inventories began to chip away from their base. The 2000s were rough on the Shack, and factors like unsatisfied employees, lost sales focus, failure to keep up with trends, and issues with creditors led to its eventual bankruptcy and closure in 2017. What do player piano music rolls, Bluetooth, and guided torpedoes have in common? According to the 2017 documentary Bombshell, the Hedy Lamar story, legendary silver screen actress Hedy Lamar was more than just a pretty face. She was also a talented inventor that developed the theory of using pairs of synced-up devices similar to player piano rolls to control torpedoes. She submitted the idea to the U.S. military where it sat until her copyright was almost up, and then, in 1957, engineers used her plans as the basis for signal hopping technology that was eventually used in many applications, such as military communications and good old Bluetooth. On July 16, 1969, only 8 years after President Kennedy declared the U.S. would put a man on the moon by the end of the decade, astronauts Neil Armstrong, Buzz Aldrin, and Michael Collins became the first men to stroll on the lunar surface. As they prepared for the mission, NASA knew that televising the landing event would be important. For better contrast between the brightness of the moon's surface and the darkness of space, a special camera was used that was originally developed for usage in Vietnam. aspects of the transmission had to be optimized so they could be beamed back to Earth. An erectable antenna was included for the journey, and even the timing of the astronauts' first steps was determined by when a tracking station would be in range. Best known for his roles as Jed Clampett on the Beverly Hillbillies and the 1970s show Barnaby Jones, Buddy Ebsen was originally cast as the Tin Man for The Wizard of Oz. His career dated back to vaudeville with singing and dancing, and several scenes were already filmed when Buddy had a reaction to the silver Tin Man makeup that almost killed him. So much of the powdered tin used to make him silver had been inhaled that he spent 6 weeks in the hospital. Although he was replaced by Jack Haley, some of Ebsen's scenes remain in the final film due to the cost of reshoots. In 1893, Chicago wasn't just the focus of the world with the World's Columbian Exposition, but was also the home to America's first serial killer. A man known as H.H. Holmes was living on the south side of Chicago near the site of the exposition. Born Herman Webster Mudgett, he was raised with privilege but became a con artist. He moved to Chicago in 1885 and began working in a pharmacy under the alias Dr. Henry H. Holmes. He took over the business under suspicious circumstances and began to build a new 3-story building of his own design nearby, with the stores on the ground floor and rooms upstairs to be used as a hotel during the exposition. He made several strange requests of the construction crews and frequently fired and replaced workers so that no one would ever know how it all came together. Features of this building included airtight rooms with blowtorch-like devices fitted into the walls, acid vats and quicklime pits in the basement, dissection tables, and a furnace hot enough to cremate. By the end of the fair, many of his guests had been reported missing, and other victims included a woman he had married and her sister, and a man that was participating with him to commit life insurance fraud, Benjamin Peitzel, and several of Peitzel's young children. The true number of his victims is unknown, but believed to be between 20 and 200. Want to see why Teddy Roosevelt was such a badass? Click the link in the description to see our video homage to TR. Thanks for watching, and remember to like, comment, share, and subscribe. You can find us on Facebook, Instagram, and Pinterest for more between the video content.